Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening via podcast, we're now up to episode 105. In this week's episode, I explore and consider why we hold on to stuff that we should be letting go. I explore how we trap ourselves in our current situation and limit our opportunities for growth and learning. Why do we hold on so long? Why don't we move on? This is part of the self-awareness journey. Being able to answer difficult questions like this, crucial questions like this. Your increasing self-awareness increases your ability to give better answers for your life. Should you stop holding on to your job, to your career, to some of your friends, to your marriage, to your house, to the state that you live in, to some of or all of your beliefs? Answers to these important questions will dictate your future life journey. Stick around. I hope they're provocative. For regular viewers and listeners, we have changed the format of the show. You now get into the content much more rapidly. The foundational principles of the Charles Coves Show and my background are now contained at the end of each show. So, what's happened over the past week on the planet, in Australia, and in my life? Well, this morning, as I'm recording, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, is announcing the date of the federal election. So obviously it's going to be in May this year. This will be a crucial election, probably unlike any other, because the freedoms that Australians used to take for granted have been dramatically impacted, and that impact will be shown in the ballot box. During the week, more sports people have been collapsing and dying. More celebrities have been collapsing and dying suddenly, but allegedly peacefully in their sleep. Don't you think that's a bit strange? Just this morning, I got the updated number that 833 athletes have collapsed, of whom 540 died. Does that make you think of what's going on? I've been interested in sport for over 55 years in a serious way. This has never happened before. Must be something in the air. I did the TNT radio show yesterday, the Mind Medicine program. It's on every fortnight from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Melbourne time. Worth listening to. The replays are always available on the TNTRadio.Live website. Guests yesterday were Professor Chris Neal and Jennifer Hibbard, a dental surgeon. Well worth listening to. Ukrainian-Russian geopolitics continues apace. Newspapers are full of it, and the stories keep changing. As I keep saying, if you're getting all of your information from mainstream media, you are sadly misinformed. I certainly look at many sources of information about what's going on over there, particularly with my links to Hungary, and Hungary having a contiguous border with Ukraine. I'm acting for a number of people, giving them advice on what to do about threats of losing their jobs because they have no jabs. There is interesting stuff going on in this country where people are expected to have more and more jabs. And then Qantas blames passengers for massive travel delays, saying that passengers don't know how to properly book in, etc., etc. The fact is that Qantas has lost a lot of employees who don't want to be jabbed, and the true story about those losses are not being shown, and many companies will find this to be the case. Newspapers this weekend full of stories about skills shortage, talent shortage. of course. And that's what companies are going to be finding, because intelligent, awake people will refuse to be jabbed, and then they'll be sacked, and then these companies will struggle to fill these vacancies. And then on top of that, people getting unwell, collapsing, heart problems. Where do you think all of that's going to go? I have a view about it, as you well know. During the week as well, I hosted a number of global Zoom meetings that relate to all of these issues, relate to the question of the fight for freedom. Those meetings take time, but I consider that fighting for your freedom, for my freedom, for freedom of Australians is the most important work that can be done. Of course, to be able to do that, I need to be in good shape, so my exercise regime has continued, my constant work on thinking about how do I stay as healthy as possible. I hope you are constantly thinking about that as well. Now, it's time for this week's big idea. The big idea is this. Are you holding on to stuff that you should be letting go? Change is the constant. You are changing. The world around us is changing ever more rapidly. However, one change that's not changing is my love of coffee. So the world changes, you changes, but are you holding on to stuff that you should be letting go, that it is desirable for you to let go? That's a key aspect of high self-awareness, your ability to answer that question. Should I be letting this go? Should you let go your job? Should you let go your career path that you thought is what you were passionate about? Should you let go some of your friends because you've outgrown them? Your thinking has shifted because you've changed. You've changed your thinking, or they've changed their thinking. Should you let go your spouse? Are you in a marriage that doesn't fulfill you? Are you in because of obligation? Do you love being married? I love being married to Julie. Do you love being married? Are you excited about being married? What about leaving your house? Selling your house? You've held on to this house. Have you held on to it too long because of habit? Because that's the path that you know? Should you be changing the state in which you live? Victoria. A lot of people have left Victoria. Many thousands of people have left Victoria because of the outrageous government that we have in this state that tramples on human rights, that tramples on freedoms. Should you be leaving your country? Although these days it's much more difficult to leave a country to go to another compared to when my parents left Hungary to come to Australia. But should you be holding on to the country in which you live? Are there other countries that more suit you now with your worldview? Should you let go of some or all of your political beliefs? I certainly have. I've had political beliefs, and my view of the behaviour of the Liberal National Party in this country has shifted dramatically because I think it's lost its way. It has no commitment to its values, to its philosophy, to its guiding principles. Why do we hold on? Why do you hold on? Often we hold on because we don't know ourselves well enough, and so that's what this show is about, to get you excited about this exploration. Gosh, why am I holding on to stuff that doesn't fulfill me? What is it inside me that I really want? That's what self-awareness is about. And no one can tell you, people can guide you how to do it, but then you have to come upon these realizations yourself. We also hold on because of the fear of the unknown. And fear is simply an expectation of pain. Pleasure and pain are our drivers. I've explored that in earlier episodes of the show. We have these fears. We think if we make a decision and change and let go, then we won't be able to cope with the pain of the unknown. We know we're in pain now, but we're worried about what will the pain be like, so we stay in a painful, unsatisfactory, uninspiring, unmotivating, dispassionate environment because we fear that the pain of a new environment might be too great to bear. Therefore, we limit our choices. Think about that. Are you limiting your choices because of that fear of some pain? So you'd rather have the pain you have now than, gosh, maybe a pain that comes up in the future that you can't cope with. Well, the fact is your life history shows that you can cope with enormous challenges, enormous pain. And this is part of the learning journey, that if you stop learning, you are in trouble. And inherent in learning is new, challenging, difficult situations, but then that helps you to grow. That inspires you rather than being stuck in the rut. Are you stuck in the rut? Are you stuck in the fear that you won't be able to cope? I say to you that you can cope. And if you know you should be letting go, whatever it is that you should be letting go, then I hope today's show inspires you to make what used to be a difficult decision, an impossible decision, to make that decision. Look deep inside yourself and ask that question. Am I holding on just because I'm fearful about my ability to cope with what might come up? You are amazing. You have amazing capabilities. And it's only when you put pressure on yourself that you realize what you are truly capable of achieving. Let it go. So let me give you some resources to enhance your consideration of this week's big idea. Some resources that will help you apply the relevance of the big idea to decisions that you might need to make. Well, the song this week, wonderful song by a wonderful singer, Linda Ronstadt. Can you guess what it is? It's Different Drum. You and I travel to the beat of a different drum. Oh, can't you tell by the way I run? Every time you make eyes at me. Well, the interesting thing with these words is they can be applied to a relationship, to a job, to a career. You cry and moan and say it will work out, but honey child, I've got my doubts. You can't see the forest for the trees. So don't get me wrong. It's not that I knock it. It's just that I'm not in the market for a boy who wants to love only me. Or you're not in a market who wants to work for a job or for a boss like you're working for. Or to live in a state with political leaders. And there's a great line here. All I'm saying is I'm not ready for any person, place or thing to try and pull the reins in on me. So goodbye, I'll be leaving. I see no sense in this crying and grieving. We'll both live a lot longer if you live without me. Use that as a metaphor for what you need to let go. Great song. I hope it inspires you to remind yourself to not hold on, to be willing to let it go. My book this week, and I don't know if this book is available, but Speeches That Changed the World. By reading amazing speeches, and there's many speech books available, I've got about 15 of them, they are beautifully inspiring ways to go, gosh, if you're wanting the courage to let it go, reading speeches that change the world is a way to remind yourself of the capability that you have deep inside you, of your soul, your spirit, your courage, your passion. Wonderful book, short speeches, inspiring speeches. My quote this week, very relevant, by Henry Ford. What a man he was. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. That's the secret of perpetual youth. Keep your mind young. That means you have to keep learning. That means trapping yourself in your existing environment with your existing stuff stops your learning. If you want to stay young, be willing to let it go. My spiritual tip: let go of grudges. Are you holding on to grudges about people who have upset you, who have hurt you, who have been unloving towards you? There's something good to let go. My health tip: think about letting go of your eating habits. Over 60% of Australians and Americans are overweight or obese. There's a clear correlation between impact of virus on people who are overweight and not. But most commentators don't say anything about it because they're attacked at being fattists. No, the correlation is absolutely clear. If you are significantly overweight, any virus has a bigger impact on you. So are you willing to let go of your eating habits? And now for some humour. Time to get a little bit playful. Since I've been talking about the question of letting go of your spouse, so I found a nice, shall we say, marriage joke or two. Louis, having come home to find his wife in the arms of another man, rushed out of the room crying, "I'm getting my shotgun." His wife dashed after him despite her totally naked state. She seized him and shouted, "You fool! What are you getting excited about? It was my lover who paid for the new furniture we recently got. My new clothes, the extra money you thought I earned sewing, all the little luxuries we've been able to buy, all came from him." But Louis wrenched away and continued up the stairs. "No shotgun, Louis," wailed his wife. "What shotgun?" called back Louis. "I'm getting a blanket. That poor fellow will catch cold lying there like that." I love it. And then another one on marriage. A couple had been married for 45 years, had raised a brood of 11 children and were blessed with 22 grandchildren. When asked the secret for staying together all that time, the wife replied, "Many years ago we made a promise to each other. The first one to pack up and leave has to take all the kids." And lastly, talking about letting go of habits, letting go of what you used to do, wife says, "I've changed my system for labelling homemade freezer meals. I used to carefully note in large clear letters meatloaf or pot roast or steak and vegetables or chicken and dumpling or beef pot pie. However," I'll take a sip of coffee here, "I used to get frustrated when I asked my husband what he wanted for dinner because he never asked for any of those things. So I decided to stock the freezer with what he really likes. If you look in my freezer now, you'll see a whole new set of labels. You'll find dinners with neat little tags that say, whatever, anything, I don't know, I don't care, something good, food. No matter what my husband replies, I know I now have it." How about that for letting go of a system that wasn't working? What system do you have that isn't working? So, think about how today's big idea can make a difference to your life. What it will certainly do is to enlighten you. And remember, why can angels fly? Because they take themselves lightly. If you let go of stuff, you become enlightened. My aim for this show is to provoke you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to educate you, to examine your life and forevermore. Constantly ask yourself the question, is this serving me? I invite you to subscribe to this podcast, to this YouTube channel by clicking the button below. Sign up for Passion Points to Ponder on covest.com or charlescovest.com. Covest.com is for corporate programs, public programs. charlescovest.com is for the self-awareness and passion quest. Both sites have significant resources that you can make use of. You can access my books Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance at either of those sites. If you are new to the show, stick around for the next part where I share the foundational principles for this show, some thoughts on freedom, and also some of my background. Again, thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, of fun, of challenge, of enlightenment, and an ever-increasing ability to handle questions about your own life. Have a great week. Thanks for being here. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@coves.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.